I'm now pleased to invite the Executive Vice Chair of NASDAQ and the Interim Chair of USIBC Global Board of Directors, Mr. Ed Knight, to join us on stage for a fireside chat where we're going to discuss US-India cooperation on cross-border investment and the global startup ecosystem. Mr. Knight.
Thank you very much. And it's great seeing everyone this morning, and we're honored to have the Honorable Minister with us. Thank you for your thoughtful remarks. As Myron Brilliant said, you have a well-deserved reputation for getting things done for your country and its citizens, and particularly those who are less advantaged in your society and delivering results for them. We congratulate you on that. I'd like to start off with a quote from, of all people, Lenin at a business conference, not really what you would think, but he said once, decades pass and nothing happens, and then decades happen within a few weeks. We seem to be living through a period where, in a matter of months, decades have happened. And that creates an inbox for you in particular, but for all finance ministers, but particularly for you, that has to be overwhelming in many respects. And so I'm just curious, in managing your job with so many issues, and you touched upon many of them, and you have a great ministry to help you with and a great government, but how do you prioritize? What is the strategy? Do you focus first on the 12 million jobs that need to be created every year in India? And when you get that done, then everything else comes. But what is your strategy, if I may ask you?
Let me first admit that not very many times I agree with the communist leaders' observations. But here's one I probably will agree. I'm not sure I can have the luxury of sequencing priorities in my job. Several things will have to happen simultaneously. While, of course, some are red-lettered and some others may not be. And the red-lettered ones would be definitely jobs, equitable wealth distribution, and making sure that India is still moving on the path of growth. In that sense, inflation is not red-lettered. I hope it doesn't surprise many of you all. We have shown that in the last couple of months, we were able to bring it under some manageable levels. So the three priority points, if at all I can say they are priority, equally handling many other things, would be these.
Of course, tied to many of these, like jobs and infrastructure, which you have very ambitious plans in your budget, is capital formation and attracting investment. More and more U.S. companies are investing in India. NASDAQ is very proud to list the two largest employers in India, in Microsoft and Google. And we know many of them have more plans to invest. But in terms of facilitating capital formation and foreign investment, could you describe the steps you're taking in that regard?
Well, on capital formation, particularly with the not just the Indian investments, but also from funds abroad, we've given a particular attention on what the fiscal concessions can be made for large sovereign funds. We've also engaged with them in the last few years. The NIIF was one attempt. I would like it to be a lot more robust. So I will have to review, and I've also expressed that desire to review the NIIF to see how best we can make that robust. But sectorally, I think we have engaged with particular investors who are keen on some sectors and facilitated in policy, easing of policy, so that they can come over. But the PLI scheme, which have been launched for 13 specific sectors, which we call sunrise sectors, but sectors in which I think the future of the world depends the solar energy or any other such which are so now disrupted in their value chains are the ones which we have opened up and given fairly good concessions, which actually has reflected in the fact that successfully a lot of companies have applied and also benefited by the PLI. So there are very many such steps we are taking either sectorally or across the board in making sure that the can I say, requests of investors highlighting some of the difficult areas have been attended to, at least partly, and we shall keep that engagement going to remove the other obstacles as well. But I'm one who takes the opportunity each time to say engagements will have to continue. A few of you, let us say, have asked for A, B, C, and we have not done A, B, and C, but we've only attended to A, should not be discouraged. India is moving speedily on to reforms, but it's also ridden with a lot of challenges, and as a result, take one doesn't mean that I've not conceded to A, B, and C, but I've done only A, so no, things are not happening, should not kindly be the mindset. Continuous engagement, repeated engagement, because we are very happy to have that engagement. The process can be speeded up with more and more inputs. So I would appeal for greater engagement, continuing engagement, and specific points which you want to highlight.
Early stage, high growth companies are critical to creating sustainable economic growth and creating jobs. They require an ecosystem that is not found everywhere in the world. Many of the elements are in India, including the entrepreneurial spirit of your people, the education system that you have that produces 500,000 engineers every year. What is your government doing to continue to create that ecosystem and encourage early stage high growth companies?
In the last few years, I think we've faced the challenges of creating that ecosystem because of the engagements that we've had with those in that sector, in that sphere of activity. They pan across several sectors. And I think the speed with which Prime Minister Modi has engaged and responded repeatedly, the ecosystem has the confidence that support is not just on the basis of policy, it's not on the basis of just giving assistance, giving funding, but also enabling the process. In that, if they have operations not just in India but elsewhere, even that is being treated fairly and also in a facilitating manner. So the approach has not been, you asked me this, I've given you that, but we are also ensuring that continuously those around them are also facilitated. As a result, I think that confidence level has grown, and that itself is triggering greater traction in that ecosystem. But that's a growing area. We are open to strengthening them, and we certainly do want them to continue to grow in India and also have a foothold elsewhere. So in that, going in that path, I would make sure that every one of them are approached by one or the other institutions so that we understand if they have any repeated difficulties or anything of that sort. Fiscal incentives, treatment of their profit earning, understanding their valuation, particularly because questions were raised that many of them are overvalued even in the initial stage, but understanding the valuation. And today I was happy to read in the media that many of them who hesitated to come out with IPOs because in between there was a bit of a drawback, have now come back to the market, and the requests for IPOs are increasing. So I'm happy to see these developments happen.
let me compliment you and your government from what I'm hearing from the technology community in some steps you've taken that you've alluded to. The technology stack that you've created is really visionary in its breadth and in its execution. So difficult to create a payment system, a platform for commerce as you have. And it has impressed the whole technology world. Something else is the fact that you are taking more time in developing your data privacy policy. And that's a very difficult issue. We understand there are sovereign questions involved in that. But as you know, data is the lifeblood of technology. And to overgeneralize, technology is closely associated with economic growth and job creation. So can you tell us a little bit about your deliberations around data privacy and whether there is the possibility of working more closely with the United States as we both develop our policies in this area?
Absolutely. Sharing of ideas is always welcome, and one benefits from such sharing of ideas. But on the data privacy, the minister has been working diligently. I would credit the minister for having been very open about withdrawing the bill which was in the parliament, which was felt not addressing all issues. And he has assured that soon enough we will have the new data privacy bill, which will be a product of consultations and will address every such concern most of us have had on the privacy bill. So sooner rather than later, you will have the bill coming, and I'm very confident about the extent of consultations that have happened both within India and also with experts from outside. So I'll wait for the bill, and I'm sure the bill is going to be absolutely comprehensive enough to address all issues.
Earlier, we discussed the fact that India will host the G20 meeting next year. Could you speak for a moment about your ambitions for that meeting and what you hope you might accomplish?
I will first of all place it at the beginning of my answer that we will be taking up this chair at a very challenging time. You would think that I'm stating the obvious, but challenging it is going to be. It is challenging for Indonesia. The challenge will continue for us as well. But it is also equally very heartwarming that the G20 chair, beginning Indonesia, India, and the next, the Troika that is today, and also the one after that, South Africa, are all emerging markets. So there is this very powerful message that the G20 will be giving out, and also through the work in these last year, this year, and the next two, will also focus on emerging markets. And why is that? Why is that important? It is important because emerging economies are the ones which are showing full potential for the next 50, 60 years to lead the global economy. They are the ones which are robust and are coming out in a very comprehensive way out of the pandemic. They are the ones with solutions for many of the issues, whether it is based on food security or commodity prices. These are the markets which are going to give you both the supply and the demand side answers for the next 25 to 40 years. Now, if they are the leadership in the G20, I think it is the right time to focus on emerging economies, address issue of the global concerns through these economies, rather than look at it from the global north and the global south. Emerging economies are going to be the center of focus in the coming days, and I'm glad that G20, however challenging it's going to be, the chair will be with India the next 12 months beginning December. Issues, of course, will be some of them which are continuing, some which India will have to take up on its own. Sooner we'll be also giving the list of our focus. But at a time when we're talking about debt, global debt, and at a time when we're talking about global climate challenges, it's going to be very, very dynamic, I would think, during the next 12 months.
Well, we wish you all the best with that. we will be supporting you in those efforts. We thank you for being here today. We know how busy you are. We congratulate you on all you have achieved, and we appreciate very much on behalf of the board, the members of the USIBC, our guests, that you are here with us today and that you have an open door in having a dialogue with us going forward. So thank you again. Let's have a round of applause for them.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and Mr. Ed Knight, for that engaging conversation. May I invite upon stage Mr. Myron Brilliant and Ambassador Keshav to please come up, and may I request Mr. Knight to please present a green certificate to the Honorable Minister. Green and green, yes. Ma'am, this is an initiative taken where on your behalf, 5 trees, a cluster of 5 trees are going to be planted in the Sundarbans. That is on behalf of an initiative of the India Idea Summit. The green certificate being presented to the Minister. Can I have a warm round of applause? Thank you very much, ma'am, for taking out the time for us. Can we have a group photograph, please? Thank you so much. Ma'am, gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am.